All right, we'll go ahead and get started tonight. I'd like to welcome everyone to the IFAS Beef Cattle Economics webinar series. I'm very glad you were able to join us tonight. I just want to let you know that for any reason, if we do lose connection, please know that each webinar is being recorded and will be available on our Range Cattle Research and Education Center's economics page in the next couple of days. I wanted to take a moment to introduce myself. My name is Chris Pravat. I'm the Extension Economist for the University of Florida, specializing in livestock and forage economics. I'm stationed at the IFAS Range Cattle Research and Education Center, which is located in Ona, Florida. Today's webinar will focus on our U.S. beef cattle market outlook. Next week, we'll be specifically talking about marketing opportunities for our 2015 feeder calves. To get us started tonight, let's review a few factors that help describe the current conditions in the cow-calf business. Average 2015 feeder calf prices are expected to set a new record due to tight supplies, cheaper feed prices, and strong demand. Our 2015 beef production costs, they've stabilized and have moved lower in some cases, such as lower feed, lower fuel, and lower fertilizer prices. The majority of cow-calf producers will be profitable again in 2015. And then, as we know from the January 1st, 2015 beef cattle inventory report, beef herd expansion is underway, mostly due to improved pasture conditions and historically high levels of cow-calf profitability. This chart looks at our U.S. average 550-pound feeder steer prices over the last 65 months. These 550-pound feeder steer prices have moved from around $103 per hundredweight in January 2010 to over $280 a hundredweight in the last 65 months. That's a price improvement of around $177 per hundredweight. So a large improvement there in price over a short period of time. Now looking at that same information on a dollars per head basis, we see that these 550-pound feeder steers prices, they move from $570 per head to over $1,540 per head during that 65-month time period. That's a price improvement of $940 per head, or 170% increase in price over those 65 months. So really good prices improvement over those 65-month time period. Notice the asterisk at the top of this slide. This represents record high prices for our U.S. average 550-pound feeder steers at $289 per hundredweight, which occurred in December 2014. Also notice the prices that are circled here. This was an unprecedented increase in U.S. average 550-pound feeder steer prices that lasted for 15 months, specifically between May 2013 and December 2014. These feeder steer prices moved from $152 per hundredweight to $289 per hundredweight over this 19-month time period. That's a price improvement of $137 per hundredweight, $755 per head, or a 90% increase in feeder calf price in just 19 months. This tremendous increase in price was driven by exceptionally tight supplies, cheaper feedstuffs, and strong beef demand. This next slide was developed by Dr. Daryl Peel He's an extension economist at Oklahoma State University. He put together an analysis of the change in beef cow inventory between 2007 and 2014. Here in Florida, our beef cow inventory declined by 7.7%, or approximately 73,000 beef cows over that 7-year time period. Overall in the United States, we declined by about 11%, or 3.8 million beef cows during that 7-year time period. As you can see, the only states to record positive changes in beef cow inventory during this time period were Montana, North Dakota, South Dakota, Michigan, Ohio, and Pennsylvania. The rest of the states had negative decreases in beef cow inventory. Another chart that Dr. Peel developed. This chart shows the percentage change in pasture acreage between 2007 and 2012. In Florida, our pasture acreage increased by 5.8%, or approximately 48,000 pasture acres during this 5-year period. However, our U.S. pasture acres declined by 3.6%, or approximately 4 million pasture acres during this 5-year period. Our increases in pastureland acres in Florida was primarily due to cropland acres returning to cattle production. Other states that saw positive increases in pasture acreage include Wyoming, Colorado, Arizona, and New Mexico. The remaining states on this map realized declines in their pasture acreage over the 5-year period. These declining pasture acreage will likely be one of the limitations that are going to be affecting our herd expansion moving forward. This chart looks at the percentage change in cow-calf operations between 2007 and 2012. As you can see, all sizes of cow-calf operations declined over the 5-year period, except for our smallest herd size of 1 to 9 head. This leads us to an interesting question regarding herd expansion. Will new producers enter the cow-calf business to expand our cow herd? Or will expansion largely take place among existing producers? More recently, most folks will agree that cow-calf producers are finally getting paid for what they do. But what will future profits look like as cow-calf producers begin expanding the herd? This chart from the Livestock Marketing Information Center shows the interaction of U.S. cattle inventory and cow-calf returns for 1985 to 2014. The left-hand axis reports the cow-calf returns per brood cow, which are denoted by the red and black bars. The right-hand axis reports our U.S. cattle inventory in million head, which is denoted by the blue line. As you can see, average cow-calf returns have been both positive and negative over the 19-year time period. Also, please note the cattle cycle that's at work here. It shows that at higher levels of cattle inventory, we experience lower levels of profitability, and at lower levels of cattle inventory, we experience higher levels of profitability. If history repeats itself again, future profit levels will follow similar patterns moving forward. In addition, these weather conditions have a large impact on cattle inventory numbers. Currently, improved pasture conditions in 2014 and 2015 have continued to fuel herd expansion. During 2015, between 50 to 70% of U.S. pasture has been rated good or in excellent condition. Based on our current weather conditions, we continue to expect herd expansion to move forward. This is the U.S. Drought Monitor, which is updated on a weekly basis. As you can see, the majority of the United States is experiencing minimal drought, except in the western region. You can access this website yourself to follow the U.S. drought conditions. Again, if these weather conditions hold, we should see continued herd expansion in the majority of the United States. The USDA conducts a survey of the U.S. cattle inventory every January 1st and July 1st to give us an idea of how cattle inventory is changing relative to the prior year. This slide shows a 2% increase in beef cow inventory between January 1st, 2014 and January 1st, 2015. Also, our beef replacement heifers and our beef replacements expected to calve increased by 4 and 7% respectively. These retained females will increase our herd levels, our levels of beef production in 2015 and in future years. However, at present, we don't expect the expansion that has already occurred to have much, if any, impact on beef prices in 2015. Therefore, our timing of beef production in 2015 has not changed very much. I do apologize for this slide being very hard to read. However, I'm going to do my best to describe it to you. These are the percentage changes of all cattle and calves in each state as of January 1st, 2015, compared with the previous year. The white color indicates no change in cattle inventory. Our blue color indicates a positive change in cattle inventory, and the red color indicates a negative change in cattle inventory. The total change in U.S. cattle inventory as of January 2015 was about a 1.4% increase. The change observed in Florida was about a 2% increase. Most of the positive changes in cattle inventory are less than 2%, except in those 2011 drought-affected states. I think this slide tells us that another occurrence of adverse weather in the near future could really alter our current herd expansion efforts. This chart looks at our U.S. cattle inventory from 1995 to 2015. On the left-hand axis represents million head of U.S. cattle and calves. As you can see, the high here occurred in 1996 at 103.5 million head, and the low occurred in 2014 at 88.5 million head. During 2014, the U.S. cattle inventory increased by 1.3 million head, which is about a 1.4% increase in cattle inventory. This was our first increase in cattle inventory since 2007, and it's still the second smallest cattle inventory since the early 1950s. This chart looks at our U.S. beef cow inventory from 1995 to 2015. The left-hand axis represents our million head of U.S. beef cows. As you can see, the high in U.S. beef cow inventory occurred in 1996 at 35.3 million head, and the low occurred in 2014 at 29.1 million head. During 2014, our U.S. beef cow inventory increased 600,000 head. That is a 2.1% increase in beef cow inventory. This chart looks at our U.S. beef cow inventory between 1980 and 2014, and it provides our USDA's projections for 2015, 2016, and 2017. The USDA projected a 450,000 head increase in U.S. beef cow inventory for 2015. However, we now know from the January 1st U.S. cattle inventory report that U.S. beef cow inventory increased 600,000 head. They have also projected a 9,000 head increase for 2016 and a 800,000 head increase for 2017. Now let's switch gears and look at our future situation. Average annual feeder calf prices are expected to move lower as herd expansion takes place and beef tonnage increases. Our outliers such as adverse weather, terrorist events, weaknesses in domestic and foreign economies, wars, and many other things are going to alter our future production and market price levels. Future beef production costs are likely to increase over time, and given our cow herd expansion, average cow-calf producers will likely be profitable for the next 3 to 4 more years, and then incur losses until cow producers reduce their inventory and beef tonnage levels. These are our cattle inventory numbers of the last 6 cattle cycles for our U.S. cattle inventory. The cattle cycles are of different lengths and years due to various economic factors affecting cattle and calf inventories. However, they average about 10 years in length. In general, cattle inventory increases due to profits and decreases due to losses. 2014 marks the beginning of the current U.S. cattle cycle. In this figure, we're looking at the inverse relationship between our U.S. cattle inventory and our U.S. average 450 pound feeder calf price. On the left-hand axis, we have million head of U.S. cattle inventory, which is denoted by our blue line. And on the right-hand axis, we have the U.S. average 450 pound feeder calf prices, which is denoted by the red dotted line. As you can see in this slide, there's an inverse relationship between our U.S. cattle inventory and our U.S. feeder calf prices. Notice that as cattle inventory begins to increase from 1990 to 1996, feeder calf prices begin to decline. Then as our U.S. cattle inventory begins to decline between 1997 and 2004, our feeder calf prices increase. Lastly, looking at our U.S. cattle inventory that decreased between 2008 and 2014, our feeder calf prices increased dramatically during that time period. So clearly, there is a relationship between our U.S. cattle inventory and the movement in our U.S. feeder calf prices. Now let's take a look at our long-term beef projections that are made by the United States Department of Agriculture and the Food and Policy Research Institute, FAPRI. This chart shows our latest 10-year U.S. cattle inventory projections from the USDA. U.S. cattle inventory, it's expected to increase from 87.7 million head in 2014 to approximately 94.1 million head in 2024. This is a very modest increase of about 6.4 million head. It's very small in comparison to the 15 and 20 million head increases that were realized in 4 out of the last 6 cattle cycles. Hopefully, this modest increase will not put as much downward pressure on our feeder calf prices moving forward. This is a chart from FAPRI, or the Food and Policy Research Institute, which is located at the University of Missouri and Iowa State University. It looks at their long-term beef price projections from 2015 to 2024. FAPRI projects that their feeder steer prices, as denoted by the red line, will decline from that 2015 projected high to a projected low in 2020, and then increase modestly over the last 4 years. In addition, FAPRI projects that their live cattle prices, as denoted by the blue line, will decline from that 2015 projected high to a 2020 projected low, and then increase modestly over those last 4 years. This chart's for our USDA's long-term beef price projections from 2015 to 2024. The USDA, they project that our feeder steer prices, as denoted by the purple line, will decline from that 2015 projected high to a 2022 projected low, and then increase modestly over those next 2 years. In addition, the USDA also projects that their live cattle prices, as denoted by the green line, will increase from 2015 to a projected high in 2017, and then decline to their projected low in 2022 before increasing modestly over the last 2 years of the 10-year projection period. Now here in Florida, we're particularly interested in our feeder calf prices since that's what we primarily produce. While these two 10-year price projections for feeder steers, they aren't exactly the same, they do follow a similar trend. So what we'll do is we'll blend these two price projections together to estimate our Florida feeder calf prices for the next 10 years. Again, these price projections are based on the best information that we have today, and they will change as we move forward. So based on our projected Oklahoma feeder steer prices, we've adjusted those prices for animal weight, freight, and handling costs to project our Florida feeder calf prices for our 10-year projection period. As you can see, our Florida feeder calf prices are projected to decline from that projected high in 2015 of $220 per hundredweight to a projected low in 2020 of $162 per hundredweight. So our Florida feeder calf prices are expected to decline about $54 per hundredweight over the first 6 years of our projection period. And then our feeder calf prices are projected to increase about $10 a hundredweight over the last 4 years of the projection period. When viewing these calf prices on a dollars per head basis, the highest price occurred in 2015 at $1,157 per head, while the lowest price occurred in 2020 at $852 per head. Therefore, these calf prices are projected to decrease by $305 per head between 2015 and 2020. Then, over the next 4 years, these calf prices are expected to increase about $50 per head. Now, since not all of our cows are going to wean us a calf every year, we need to make an adjustment to calculate our actual revenue per brood cow. In this analysis, it was assumed that 85% of our brood cows are going to wean a calf. This chart, it describes our projected Florida feeder calf revenue per brood cow for the 10-year projection period. Our highest projected feeder calf revenue of $984 per brood cow is going to occur in 2015, and our lowest projected feeder calf revenue of $724 per brood cow occurs in 2020. Therefore, our feeder calf revenue per brood cow is expected to decline by about $260 per brood cow between 2015 and 2020. We'll use these projected Florida feeder calf revenues per brood cow to evaluate our level of expected cow-calf profitability for our 10-year projection period. I think our key takeaway here is that if you can keep your cost of production under $724 per brood cow, you will be profitable for all 10 years in this projection period. Now, this is a chart that was developed by the Livestock Marketing Information Center. It estimates the average cow-calf costs per brood cow between 1985 and 2014. In 1985, the average cow-calf costs were estimated to be around $300 per brood cow. And then in 2014, the average cow-calf costs were estimated to be just under $700 per brood cow. The big take-home message here is that these cow-calf costs per brood cow are increasing over time, and we're going to have to plan to manage these costs moving forward. The data in this chart was produced by Dr. Harlan Hughes, who writes for Beef Magazine. His projections show that cow-calf costs per brood cow are projected to increase from $840 per brood cow in 2015 to about $960 per brood cow in 2021. Again, he's projecting his cost of production per brood cow to increase over his 7-year projection period for his eastern Wyoming, western Nebraska cow herds. In his example, his costs increased by $120 per brood cow over the 7 years, which is about a 14% increase over that 7-year period, or about 2% annually. In our analysis for Florida, we're estimating that our calf production costs per brood cow are around $750 per head. In addition to these financial calf production costs, we're assuming a 2% annual increase in cost annually. Therefore, our expected cost of production is going to increase by about $15 to $17 per brood cow per year. And then that'll range our expected cost of production between $750 per brood cow to $896 per brood cow over the 10-year projection period. Now that's an increase of $146 per brood cow, or about a 19% increase over that 10-year projection period. So we are going to have to figure out how to deal with these increasing costs of production as market prices are declining from herd expansion. Now, using our projected feeder calf revenue per brood cow and our projected Florida financial calf production cost per brood cow, we're able to calculate our 10-year profit loss projections for Florida. From 2015 to 2017, cow-calf profits are projected to be realized. Then for the remaining 7 years of the projected period, losses are expected to occur for the cow-calf sector in Florida. Even though our feeder calf prices will begin to improve after 2020, these increases in cost of production are going to be too much to overcome. Now, it should be understood that we are using average costs and average prices for this analysis. Profitability does vary widely among cow-calf operations, and some producers will have lower cost structures. Some producers are going to have higher levels of performance, and some are able to market their calves at higher prices. However, some others will not. I do encourage producers to make adjustments to these projections to better reflect their individual situation for their state, the type of cattle that they do have, their weaning percentage, as well as their cost of production. If these projections are realized, most cow-calf producers will need to make some adjustments in their cow-calf production system and their marketing strategies to be profitable. We plan to update these projections each year as more information becomes available to us. In summary, our beef herd expansion is likely to continue, but is expected to be limited due to our fewer pasture acres that are available to us, the average age of cattle producers and their perception of risk, the higher capital requirements for herd expansion, definitely our uncertain domestic and foreign economies, and then many other factors are affecting our herd expansion. Also, continued tight supplies of beef are expected in the short run. And then our record feeder calf prices are not likely to continue after 2015. When cattle prices do begin to level off and decline some, we see now that managing those costs of production, our stocking rates, and margins become very critical to the profitability of cow-calf operations. This chart illustrates Califax projections that lower prices are on their way in. After 2015, I think we can see that the projections estimate that the easy money will be behind us after 2015, and we're going to have to get more focused on managing our production costs, and our market prices to be profitable moving forward. If you're looking for more information or additional resources, please check out our Southeast Cattle Advisor website or our Facebook page, which is updated very regularly. I'd like to thank you for your time this evening. I hope you have a very profitable 2015. We have a few minutes left to take a few questions if there are any. And if you wish, you can call or email me using the contact information on the screen. Thank you again for your participation tonight, and I'll open the floor up for any questions and answer a couple of questions if you have. Okay, so the first question I received was if energy prices or interest rates begin to rise, what impact will that have on cattle prices? Obviously, if energy prices or interest rates do begin to rise, that's going to leave consumers with less disposable income, less disposable money to spend. So likely this is going to result in weaker demand for beef, and it's going to cause lower beef prices. As well as alternatively, it's going to increase our cost of production, those energy prices and interest that we charge on our cow-calf operation. The next question that we got tonight was, could we have a cattle cycle that's shorter than 10 years? And yes, we can have a cattle cycle less than 10 years. It could happen for a couple of reasons. It might be that a serious drought is affecting a large area, such as what just happened in Texas and Oklahoma and the rest of the Midwest, or what's happening in the Southwest right now, or those rising input costs really reducing our profitability. That could throw this cattle cycle in the other direction, and we could have a cattle cycle less than 10 years. And then the last question that we've received this evening is, why did we use our 10 years for our projection period? Our 10-year projections are provided by the Food and Policy Research Institute and the USDA. That's why we continued using their analysis, as well as that is the average length of past cattle cycles, and it allows us to better evaluate the future of our cow-calf operation. All right, well, if you do have any more questions, you can, my contact information is right there. You can shoot me an email or give me a phone call. Folks, this will conclude our webinar for this evening. I hope you'll join us for the July 1st webinar at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time for our next session, which will be on our marketing opportunities